Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah, and welcome to this new episode about the days and rituals of Hajj. Today, Alhamdulillah, Muslims have finished one of the biggest rituals of Dhul Hijjah, of the Hajj, which is standing on the day of Arafah. And as mentioned yesterday, there are various hadith about the significance of this day. It's on this day that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saves the biggest number of people from hellfire, and on this day the shaitan gets very small, very humiliated, because he's seeing the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being showered on the people performing Hajj and worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and looking for His forgiveness and mercy. So this is a special day, and actually it's not only for the pilgrims. If we look at the Hajj, you will find actually that it's really connected to the life of every one of us. It's not only about those who are performing the pilgrimage. It's for every one of us to benefit and to get inspired. The day of Arafah is not for pilgrims, it was for everyone. Even those who didn't attend Hajj, they had their fasting to get the forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So as you notice in the pictures, people were praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sincerely. Actually, some people have prepared lists of wishes and lists of prayers, asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive them, to fulfill their needs. Now, at the day of Arafah has ended, people start moving to the Muzdalifah area. And here the Prophet ﷺ spent the night after Arafah, spent the night at Muzdalifah, prayed Maghrib and Isha, and it's the Sunnah to pray these two prayers together at the time of Isha, and then take some rest until the next day. Some scholars have the opinion that pilgrims can just stay until the midnight because of the difficulty. Some people would not be able to stay the whole night and move on to Mina next day with all the pilgrims because the huge crowds. So they allow those who need this sanction to those who need this concession or this rukhsa to leave at the midnight. Actually, the Maliki scholars have another opinion, actually, that what is required is just to stay at a period that's enough for praying Maghrib and Isha and having something to eat, and then you are allowed to go to move on and go to Mina. So and all of these opinions actually give a space for Muslims, makes things easy. So whoever needs these concessions, it's okay, inshallah, and it's accepted. There are great and prominent scholars who have these, who adopt these opinions, so there's no harm, inshallah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most merciful, and He, as He mentioned actually in some ayat, يريد الله بكم اليسر ولا يريد بكم العسر. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intends ease for you. He is not trying, or He is not making things difficult for you. On the next day, tomorrow inshallah, it will be the day of Eid, the day of Eid al-Adha, and this is also a very special day. Here, these scenes, you can see these scenes from Muzdalifah, people staying in this area, spending the night in this place. Some of them are collecting the pebbles or the stones that they are going to use next day Rami al-Jamarat, or stoning the Jamarat. We're going to discuss that inshallah. After spending the night at Muzdalifah praying Fajr, the Prophet ﷺ moved to Al-Mash'ar al-Haram, remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then he proceeded to Mina, back again to Mina, the place where the Hujjaj started the Hajj. They moved back to Mina tomorrow inshallah on the day of Eid, and start a number of rituals. Actually, the day of Eid is called the day Yawm al-Hajj al-Akbar, or the day, the greatest day of Hajj, because there are different rituals. It's not only one or two rituals. There are a number of rituals that will be done tomorrow inshallah on the day of Eid. And the day of Eid actually is a very special day also. It's considered one of the most significant and most blessed day in the whole year. Actually, there is a hadith from the Prophet ﷺ mentioning that the most significant or the best day in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the day of Eid, or the day of An-Nahr. There's another hadith that where the Prophet ﷺ mentions that Yawm Arafah, the day of Arafah, wa Yawm An-Nahr, the day of Eid, the day of sacrifice, and Ayyam al-Tashriq, the next 3 days after the day of Eid. All of these days make a festival for us, or a Eid for us Muslims. And they are ayyamu aklin wa shurb. They are days of enjoying food and drinking water, of course, and non-haram drinks. So these are times for enjoying. It's time for happiness. And as we see actually in the Islamic occasions, they are connected to worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Muslims are happy because the pilgrims have achieved or fulfilled the biggest part of the Hajj, and this is in itself is an occasion to celebrating this big achievement. Just like the day of Eid al-Fitr, Muslims are celebrating the huge achievement of fasting for a whole month and finishing this fast. So similarly for the Hajj, Muslims fulfilled one of the pillars of Islam, and therefore they are celebrating this big achievement. They are not celebrating something worldly, so they are not celebrating some small achievement. They are celebrating something that connects them with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What are the rituals of the day of Eid? There are 4 important rituals on this day. The first one is Rami al-Jamar, or stoning Jamarat al-Aqaba. After pilgrims move to Mina, they move to an area called Jamar, and they are required to stone this place for 7 times with 7 small stones. And actually, when they are doing that, they are remembering the great Prophet Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam and Prophet Ismail, and they are remembering actually the story of the sacrifice when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded Prophet Ibrahim to sacrifice his son. The reports or the hadith mentioning that Shaitan tried to distract Sayyidina Ibrahim, telling him, "What are you doing? You are going to kill your son." So Sayyidina Ibrahim used to stone him just to move him away from him, to stop these distractions. So Muslims celebrate that. Actually, they remember this story, this complete submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by Prophet Ibrahim and his son Prophet Ismail, and they make this stoning, Rami al-Jamar. After doing that, then comes the step of the sacrifice. Some types of Hajj require the believer to sacrifice or to offer slaughter an animal as a hadi, or it's called as a gift for people in Mecca. and those who need food. So after stoning the Jamarat, they do this rituals, sacrificing an animal like a goat, camel, or a cow. And then comes to the next step, which is shaving or trimming the hair. For a male, for a man, he's supposed to shave all of his hair or trim all the hair. For a woman, she's supposed to cut a small part at the end of her hair. After doing that, the pilgrim have already completed a major part of Hajj, and he is allowed to do what is called at-tahallul al-awwal, which means the restrictions related to ihram, the restrictions related to being in the state of Hajj are mostly absolved from him. He or she is allowed to wear clothes, to wear perfume, to do anything that was not allowed for him, actually, except for the intimate relationship with the spouse. So this is called tahallul awal, and it gives you freedom to do whatever you were restricted from during Hajj, except for specific things like the intimate relationship with the spouse. The next step after shaving and trimming is doing Tawaf al-Ifadah, and here the pilgrims are going to move from Mina to Mecca and do the Tawaf. And this Tawaf actually is one of the pillars of Hajj. It's just like staying on the day of Arafah. Without it, Hajj is not complete. So the pilgrims are supposed to do Tawaf al-Ifadah, and some pilgrims are supposed to do Sa'i, those who didn't do Sa'i during Tawaf al-Qudum, or those who there are different cases actually. So some have already made Sa'i before, so they are not required to do it again, and some they must do it again. We're not going to go into the details about that, but just a general briefing about the rituals. Tawaf al-Ifadah and Sa'i. Once it's done, now the whole Hajj is completed, or the main pillar of Hajj are completed, and therefore the Hujjaj are released from all the restrictions of the Hajj, including the intimate relation with the spouse. So these are the rituals of the day of Eid. Stoning the Jamarat, Ramy Jamarat al-Aqaba, stoning one Jamar, which is called Jamarat al-Aqaba. Then sacrificing, offering the Hadi, or the sacrifice, for those who are required to do so. Then shaving or trimming the head hair. Then performing Tawaf al-Ifadah and Sa'i if you are required to do that. And by doing that, you are done with the main pillars of Hajj. What remains actually is to go back to Mina, stay 2 more nights or 3, and during the day of the coming day of this period, days 11, 12, and 13, a pilgrim is required to go and stone the Jamarat, the 3 Jamarat in Mina. Not only one Jamar like the day of Eid, actually the 3 Jamarat should be stoned, 7 with small 7 stones for each one of them, and then going back to Mecca, making the farewell Tawaf or Tawaf al-Wada', which actually means that you are finishing your rituals, you are leaving Mecca. So before you doing that, you are going to greet the Kaaba and to finish your Hajj with this farewell Tawaf. Whether you do it, you can do it on the 12th or on the 13th of the Hajj, depending. You're allowed to stay 2 nights in Mina, or 3 nights if you like. فمن تعجل في يومين فلا إثم عليه ومن تأخر فلا إثم عليه لمن اتقى. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless all of us, to bless those who already have the journey of pilgrims this year. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept their deeds and accept their rituals and fulfill their needs and fulfill their prayers, And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow those who are eager to who desire to perform Hajj, and those who didn't do it already, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them this great blessing. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help the whole ummah to benefit from this spiritual experience, the experience of Hajj. And may He subhanahu wa ta'ala make tomorrow's the Eid a blessing for every one of us. Eid Mubarak for you. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept from us and from you. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. جزاكم الله خيرا والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.